Language learning people of the internet, do not panic. She's here. She's here to solve all your problems. Well, actually most of it, because you guys had a shit ton of questions and we don't have much time around here. Hello again from hopefully a better angle. I'm Eylül. I speak 6 languages. I'm 23. I'm from Turkey, but I've been living in Seoul for the past 5 years. And I asked you guys to share your language learning struggles with me on Instagram. There were a lot, but today we're going to talk about some of them. And if you guys would like, we can do a part 2 later on. So let's begin. But before that, I want to take a quick moment to thank Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives with thousands of classes across topics like photography, design, productivity, and even language learning. I was honestly so happy to see such a variation with language learning classes too. And one thing I love is that all the classes are taught by industry experts who are genuinely passionate about sharing their knowledge. And their learn by doing approach makes it really easy to practice what you've learned and even share your projects with the community for feedback, so you actually feel like you're a part of the class. Plus, with Skillshare, you can learn at your own pace, which is honestly really useful if you're juggling multiple languages like me, or if you have other creative pursuits. You can learn French and French pastries. And the best part is Skillshare is giving the first 500 people who use my link in the description a 1-month free trial. So make sure to be quick and don't miss your free trial. And once again, thank you so much to Skillshare. Let's get this rolling. So our first question / problem is, I'm stuck at a point where I understand 70% of a language but can't form a good sentence. So this is something I hear quite a lot. And for me personally, it had quite a simple solution. To me, it just seems like you're lacking some active language learning practice. If you guys never heard of them before, active learning and passive learning are both actually very valuable for learning languages, but they just serve different purposes. Passive learning happens when you're absorbing the language. For example, when you're listening to music, podcasts, a TV show, a conversation. But active learning happens when you're directly using that language, like when you're speaking, writing, doing grammar exercises. And I think not knowing how to balance this is a struggle a lot of language learners are facing. Because you can understand most things in that language, I assume that you consciously or not just did a lot of passive exercises. But at the same time, it's really important to produce your own sentences, to do some sort of speaking or writing in that language. So my advice for you would be to just prioritize speaking and writing for a while. For example, some of my favorite ways is something that I'm doing right now, talking to myself. Even before I started creating content, it's stupid, but it's something I used to do. I would just turn on the camera and speak to myself in English. When you consistently record yourself, when you have the opportunity to see the way you speak that language, I mean, even though it does not happen overnight, you can really see what you're struggling with. You can tell, for example, when your pronunciation is off. So next time you have to speak, you're conscious of that. Or if it's still too cringy for you, you don't have to record yourself, just speak to yourself. This is also something that I love to do. As I mentioned, I'm an only child, so growing up, I enjoyed a lot of fruitful debates with myself. I find it really entertaining, and I think that was one of the things that really helped me to get fluent in a lot of the languages that I'm fluent in right now. Other than that, you can journal in your target language. I love doing this because I'm not only producing my own sentences, but I also have the time to look up new words if I need them. So it kind of gives me more time to think about what I actually want to say compared to other speaking activities. I look up a lot of words, and this way I learn a lot of new vocabulary that I actually want to use because it's my own journal, it's just my thoughts. So I would really recommend you do that. Time. For me, it's definitely time management. How to organize while working full-time. Exactly. This is a really good question, and it's one of my biggest struggles to this day, because most of the polyglot content creators I see online are students, or they just do it for a living. They do polyglot content for a living, or they do something related to languages. So I think it's really important to talk about it for those of us who are in between trying to manage a full-time job and all of this, whatever this is. And so far, the thing that helped me the most is knowing myself. I never set unrealistic goals for myself. I can't come back from work and study 2 hours of intensive French. That's just gonna lead to a burnout at some point. I will just not like the language as much. So first of all, I realistically identified my free time. It's unspoken, but a 9 to 5 is really a 8 to 6. Best case scenario. So also take out the time where you have to brush your teeth, shower, do chores, blah, blah, blah. Just focus on the time where you can actually give your attention to studying a language. But you realistically will not have a lot of time, and at times you will just not feel motivated enough to do anything. So what I did was, just especially for the weekdays, I just tried to fill that time with things that I really, really enjoy. For example, not very academic, but everyone who knows me knows that I love trash TV. I love those stupid reality shows. I need to know the tea. I know they're scripted. I know they're not, high quality content, but they're amazing for language language learning, and they're so freaking interesting. Like, we all saw what happened with Montoya, por favor.
Por favor, Montoya, por favor. Por favor, Montoya!
That was a very important moment for the pop culture, for the Spanish culture. Don't even get me started. So when I watch a show like that, that is just ridiculous. That just makes me laugh, makes me happy, brings me joy. It does not feel like I'm studying. So when I come back from work, even though I'm really tired, even though I just want to cry and quit my job and not go to work ever again, I will still be tuning in because I need to know the tea. And you know what that is? That's passive learning. You're welcome. Y bueno, por eso puedo hablar español sin problema. Necesito el chisme. It doesn't have to be a reality show for you. Let's say you really like doing flashcards, then just do flashcards. But my point is, I think the best thing you can do for yourself, if you have a full-time job like me, if you constantly feel tired like me, at least on the weekdays, just focus on what you like the most. And also one more thing that really helped me with this is to combine language learning with my chores or other activities that I like doing. For example, I'm working out again. I'm locked in for summer, you guys. You just wait. But while I'm working out, instead of just listening to music or something else, I turn on a French podcast. Before you ask, yes, I do feel like I'm in one of those $1 million morning routines filmed by those fake CEOs. I do it and I literally feel like I'm better than everybody else. I mean, I have to work out 30 minutes every day anyways. So I feel like I'm just earning time listening to my podcast during that time. And after my workout and shower, I can just write down a little bit in French and call it a day sometimes. And do not underestimate that 5 to 10 minutes. Just do it, because really you would not believe what would come out of that 5 or 10 minutes if you just keep doing it consistently. Because really, even though it's just 5 to 10 minutes, if you consistently do it, you will improve so much. Also, I want to add this too. I think prioritizing sleep is very important. It does not seem directly related to language learning, but if you have a full-time job or if you're really busy with the university, staying awake and studying languages for 1 or 2 more hours will lead to burnout instead of rapid improvement. Do not underestimate the importance of health, sleep of all things, because it is really something that is essential to your brain. And without your brain, you cannot learn languages, okay? Try to make time within the day. Washing your dishes, commuting, doing laundry, folding laundry. Utilize that time instead of staying up late studying languages. Next question. Can you show German TV shows you like or know that are on YouTube, please? I have so many. So this first one was recommended to me by my dear cousin who was born and raised in Germany. The show is called Wer stiehlt mir die Show? Who's gonna steal the show from me? It's like a German quiz show, and I'm not sure if the full episodes are on YouTube, but a big portion of it is uploaded to YouTube, which is where I watch it from. And I feel like, especially if you're not super fluent with German, 15 to 20 minutes of it is enough in a day. So I've been just watching from YouTube when I was intensively studying German. And the format is honestly perfect for people like me to keep their attention on the show, because it's not only German, it's a quiz show. So there are also a lot of interesting questions, and it makes you think in German, which is exactly what I'm looking for. When I'm learning languages, I get really, really bored if the purpose of the thing is just learning languages, like very simple stuff. I really appreciate the things that make me think and also make me think in my target language. So I would really, really recommend this. Next one is Arte. It's a French/German documentary channel. So I don't know why it came out in Spanish, but they have bomb documentaries. I love it. All of it is on YouTube. Some of them do have subtitles, some of them don't. But nevertheless, I think it's just great for immersing yourself into the language. I love them for the reason that I have just mentioned. I'm learning something new, but I'm practicing German at the same time, which is my favorite way of learning languages. Next one's a classic that everyone who's learning German should know. It's Easy German. I owe them my life. I learned so much German through their podcast. Actually, I had their podcast membership, and I was religiously reading and listening to their podcast every single night. And it was really affordable. It was like €8 a month. And I was just really happy to be supporting a channel like that. They're obviously putting so much effort into their videos, and they just want to help people learn German in such a structured and nice way. So I could definitely recommend that, and the podcast membership as well. Next one, if you just strictly want to stay on YouTube, there are some YouTubers that I follow that also cover very interesting topics. So I'm just going to put all of them here. Or actually, I have more. I should do a separate video on German. Learning Chinese, second year. I feel everything in the media is too advanced for me. Any advice? Damn, Chinese must be tough. So something that saved my life in a similar situation was children's books and children's TV shows. I don't know if there's anything like that, but you can try to watch SpongeBob SquarePants in Chinese or read whatever children's book they have. I mean, so many people speak Chinese. There must be something that they consume. You should find that. Maybe a cartoon that's really famous in Asia. So since you're on your second year, you might feel like you should be understanding some more advanced Chinese, but at the end of the day, if you can't, do not put yourself down for it. Just start with these things. Just try to get the basics right. If you feel like you would get bored from reading children's books, you can reread something that you've read before, which is something I also really enjoy a lot. I've mentioned before that I read Twilight in like 3-4 languages. It never gets boring. Also, when I read Twilight in Korean, my Korean was not at a level where I could understand everything easily, and Twilight really helped me a lot with that, believe it or not. So get a book that you have read before, just try to read it, although you feel like it's a little bit too advanced for you. I promise after the first 50 pages, the vocabulary just keeps repeating itself, so you might have an easier time later on, and after you're done with the book, reading other Chinese books might feel easier for you, might get easier. Rewatch something that you watched before, but with Chinese dubs. In that case, I watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, also in 3 languages, and I have learned so much vocabulary from it. Stick with it, girl. You can do it. Abla, can I learn Italian in 1 week eğer çok zorlarsam kendimi? No. Learning a language in a week is highly unrealistic, but if you really try, you can understand and express a lot of things in 3 or 4 months. Kids, these videos on YouTube, speaking Italian in a week, learning French in a day, those are not it, okay? Language learning takes time, and it's a journey, and it's fine. Next one is a question asked by a dear friend. What materials to start off with when learning Spanish? So I think it's really important to have a solid textbook, especially for beginners, so you can easily keep track of what you're learning or what you've learned. The one that I've used was called Aula, I think, but honestly I'm not that selective with textbooks because I don't tend to stick just to them anyways. Like, I always do a lot of different things to learn languages, not just that. So at the end of the day, if it just has the basic information that you need there, it's good enough for me. And the second really important thing for me to have is to have something that I can listen to or watch all the time. It can be a TV show with a lot of seasons, like MasterChef Spain, or it can be a podcast. Granted, podcasts can be a little boring if you're a beginner because you can't understand everything that's going on and there are no visual aids, unlike TV shows, but I really recommend Easy Spanish. I think that's a solid podcast to start learning Spanish with. Also, I really generally like the materials of Easy Spanish, just like Easy German, because they're from the same founder, I guess. I already know that you like music and Spanish, so that's a plus. And honestly, for beginners, these days online tutoring is really affordable, so you can just try to find a tutor that you like from services like italki or Preply from time to time if you don't think you need classes every week, just to get some feedback from a native speaker. I think they're very affordable and useful these days, but I think my biggest advice for Spanish would be to consume content or use sources from a lot of different countries. I just stuck to Spain Spanish because my teachers at school were Spanish, and at the time TV shows from Spain were really popular in Turkey, like La Casa de Papel. And when I realized that I really liked Latin American culture and I would like to learn their slangs, the way that they talk, it was really hard for me. It's like I had to learn this language all over again. So guys, don't do what I did. Diversify your content portfolio. Next, having a hard time memorizing Korean vocabulary. I'm always forgetting the words. I'm not gonna lie, learning vocabulary has always been something that I was confident about. I was always good at it. Like, my grammar can be shit, but you best believe that I just know a shit ton of words because I feel like I'm not memorizing them. Well, something I feel like I've talked way too much about is learning in context. I mean, actually, I have a whole video about learning vocabulary, so please check that out. It has really useful information, including me talking about how I learn in context and more concrete examples. But basically, I never learned words individually. If I learned vocabulary with the purpose of learning vocabulary, poof, it's gone. It was never there. What I try to do is I just try to create opportunities for me to practice and hear that language in my daily life. Like when I'm out and about, I try to listen to music, podcasts. Music really helps me with vocabulary, actually, because music is not like TV shows. Like, you just watch a scene once and just never watch it again. You most likely have a playlist and you just play it over and over again, so you just hear those words over and over again. And it's like a combination of two things. Like, you can see a word once in your textbook, and later on, if you just try to incorporate that language into your life, at one point you will hear that word again, and then you will hear it again. And you will not only see how native speakers actually use that, and when I recognize a word like that, like a word that I've been trying to learn, maybe through my textbook, maybe I took an online class and my teacher mentioned that word, when I hear that word in context used by a native speaker, I immediately recognize it. My attention goes there and I'm like, oh, I've seen this word, I've used this word, and now I'm being exposed to another use of it, which makes the connection of that word even stronger in my brain. I don't even know if these make sense, but basically just try to hear your target language as much as possible in a day, and the vocabulary that you're trying to remember will pop up and you will never forget. I sound smarter than that sometimes, so please watch my video about it. I think I explained it better there. Bye! Next, how can I stay motivated to learn a language consistently when progress feels slow? I get you, girl. Like, look at me still struggling with French. Look at us. Look at us, who would have thought? So there's no need to overcomplicate it. You either find something that you really like, that you will not get bored of, like being a fan of something. Fangirling saves lives, by the way, or you find yourself a really good purpose. For example, when learning Spanish, I think that was music. Pop music from Spain, reggaeton from Latin America. It's just, I was so passionate about it. I was so passionate about this artist, so I really wanted to understand their interviews or even their culture a little bit more, so that kept me going. When learning Korean, I wanted to move to Korea. I fantasize a life for myself here that I'm living right now. And for German, for example, I'm learning German with the hopes of maybe getting a job in Germany someday. So having a clear purpose really helps you with that, because you either get it done or you don't reach your goals, and it's not a good possibility. It's not something I would like to experience. In the case of French though, like I don't really have a purpose learning French. Like I don't really have any use for French in my life right now, but I still really want to learn it because again, there are some songs that I really like in French, some artists that speak French that I really like. I want to understand their songs a little bit better, and at the same time, have you seen Timothée Chalamet speak French? Like I need to get it. I need to get this boy when he's speaking French. It's just when I see shit like that, I want to be a part of it. I want to understand it on a better level, and so I just keep watching French stuff, and it just brings me a lot of joy because it just keeps feeding my delusion that I will someday speak French like that. But it's something that keeps me going. Timothée Chalamet speaking French keeps me going. So whatever floats your boat, find it and just find the joy in it. Like language learning does not have to be a chore. If you don't feel like it, just don't do it. Give yourself some time. You're just supposed to enjoy the process. I think that's how a lot of people are also torturing themselves. Like they see these people that are really good at speaking their target language and they're like, oh, but I'm not there yet. Like it's okay. You don't have to be there yet. Everyone has their own journey. Maybe I just had more opportunities to practice those languages. This is beginning to look like a motivational TED talk, but take it day by day. If you don't need to take an exam anytime soon, do whatever makes you happy. Next, how do I better incorporate the language into my everyday life to better memorize and familiarize? I think the solution to this is also knowing yourself well and knowing your daily schedule and knowing when you will actually be able to pay attention, and also knowing well when you can't pay that much attention and just prioritize things for yourself. For example, I know that when I'm commuting to work, I'm awake, I have a lot of energy, I have a lot of willpower, so I make sure to listen to something in my target language. But when I'm coming back from work, I'm dead. I just do not want to be there. It's a torture. Instead of forcing myself to listen to a podcast or something that I need to use my brain power for, I just shuffle my playlist. I just listen to music, whatever music that I like. It doesn't have to be language learning related. And like I've mentioned, you need to take advantage of those idle tasks, like the tasks that you do that does not require a lot of brain power, so you're still open to absorb the language a little bit. Watch something in your target language while brushing your teeth every night. It is something that you do every night. You're gonna keep doing it every night, and if you just combine it with language learning, it'll be a routine for you. Basically, creating habits. Habits create consistency, and consistency is everything when it comes to language learning, or actually when it comes to learning anything. And the way that I would do it, I would find a lot of content. Like when brushing my teeth, maybe I would watch a TikTok in my target language. When I'm eating, maybe I would watch something a little bit more serious. When I'm commuting to work, I would put on a podcast, but I would make sure that they're all slightly different, that they're about different things, so you can hear about a lot of different things in your target language and you are just more familiar with a broader range of topics. But yeah, I don't know how normal it is for other people, but as I said, I'm an only child, so every waking minute I would consume some type of media. Like if I wasn't doing anything, there is at least music or TV going on in the background. But basically I always think, watch, listen, something. If I'm completely silent, I'm probably just trying to make sentences in my target language. So yeah, little things like that are really life-changing for when you're trying to learn a language. Next, good apps or channels to learn Korean, please. I think I tried a lot of language learning apps, but contrary to popular belief, I think Hello Talk is actually a nice place to practice languages. Some of them can be but at least if you make a mistake, if you really embarrass yourself, I mean, there's no need to be embarrassed when you're practicing a target language, by the way, but if you do, you never have to talk to that person ever again in your life. They are disposable native speakers. Just get your practice, get help from those people, and move on with your life. And for Korean, I know for a fact that there are a lot of users on Hello Talk. Also, tutoring services like italki and Preply that I've mentioned. These days, there are actually a lot of tutors, and some of them are very affordable, so don't be afraid to reach out. out and ask a native tutor for help. I don't know, maybe once a month, once every 2 months. I think it can be a good investment for you. Channels, here are some channels in Korean that I really like that helped me. Especially Minoi is someone that helps me learn a lot of Gen Z slangs, because at that point I was really losing interest in Korean content, but found her really funny, so I just kept watching it. Next, Turkish, and cannot deal with complex sentence structures. Believe me, Turkish people cannot either. I'm really serious when I say this. Like, you wouldn't believe how many people in Turkey start a sentence, stop mid-sentence, and just change it to something completely different. Especially, I feel like people who don't really read a lot. Most Turkish influencers that I see, they don't really know how to speak proper Turkish. I mean, they do, they're obviously native speakers, but from a language learner's perspective, they're not utilizing the language in the way that they're supposed to be. So I think Turkish grammatically is a very complex language. And so I wouldn't want anybody to feel discouraged. The most important thing at the end of the day is for people to understand you. That's the purpose of learning a language. And if you just knew how many native speakers also make the same mistakes, I think you would feel so much better about yourself. You're allowed to just like stop mid-sentence and change your mind. You're allowed to describe something in an easier way. So don't be afraid to do that. But if you generally want to get better at it, this is advice for some of my friends too. Atahan, I feel like we could work on your Turkish. I'm speaking to you and my friend Atahan. Read books in Turkish, because it really helps seeing these complex structures on paper. Like, if you can see them, it would definitely be easier for you to understand. And as you keep on seeing these kinds of structures, it will just get easier for you after some time. But if you still struggle with it after quite some time, there is no shame in using these simple alternatives, because realistically, when speaking in real life, that's what we use. We don't overcomplicate things. Yeah, and also you can try to journal using those same complex structures. Like, you can take one sentence and kind of like and try to like shift it your own way, but don't torture yourself. I know 6 languages and Turkish is the hardest. Atan is the one who should feel ashamed. Do you use podcasts to learn languages? It's hard as a beginner because I can't understand. Exactly. They are so hard at the beginning. As I said, there are no visual aids. Like, it's not like watching a TV show or like having subtitles on. You completely have to depend on this audio. But is that even a question? Do you use podcasts? Girl, I am in love with podcasts. Podcasts are my life. They teach me a lot about languages and life as well. I've been exactly where you are, and what I did was really simple. I just kept listening to them. You will get frustrated. I was really frustrated the first 2 weeks because I could not understand shit. Like, I'm not kidding you. I couldn't even comprehend where a word started and where it ended. Like, it was just a big soup for me, to be honest. Then the more and more that I listened, everything got more clear. You can get some help if you are listening to a podcast that has a transcript. I got really lucky. The German podcast that I was listening to from Easy German also had a transcript that I could access. So after just listening to the audio for a while, I also decided to pay for the podcast membership and get the transcript and just like read and listen. So first up, you just listen to a shit ton of podcasts. You slowly start to understand where the words start, where they end. Third step, slowly understand where the sentences start and where they end. Fourth, you slowly understand what they're talking about. And fifth, you just kind of like go into more detail. But obviously, I'm talking about a scenario where your language learning is not only limited to one podcast. I assume that you're watching things. I assume that you're doing at least some exercises on your textbook or from the internet. But you know, my one simple solution was just hanging in there. I just kept listening. I wouldn't understand shit, but I just kept listening to that German podcast every night for 1 hour, and here we are. Next, do you use flashcards? And if so, how? Which website do you use? Love from UK. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. This changes things. I'm sorry. Do you use flashcards? And if so, how? Which website do you use? Love from UK. I'm sorry, I'm not responsible for the way I act around British people. These days, I don't use flashcards as much just because I feel like I did that a lot in high school and I'm kind of bored now. When I do it, I either use Quizlet because I already have a lot of decks there and you can just like download other people's decks, which I actually would not recommend. It's much better to create your own decks and being familiar with the vocabulary that you want to learn. But sometimes I'm just lazy, so I download it. Also Lingoda. I take a lot of language learning classes from Lingoda, and they have this new feature where you can do some flashcards before the class. So they're also pre-made for you, and I really like that. But flashcards I would especially recommend if you're preparing for like a language exam, TOEFL, DELE, TOPIK, that kind of stuff. But yeah, especially these days, I think I'm just more focused on contextual learning. Next, from what I can see, we need some confidence in speaking. Here's the funny thing. Your problem and your solution is the same thing. To be able to get more comfortable in speaking in your target language, you just need to speak more. If it's not like a social anxiety issue, if it's that, go fix that first. If it's not, as I've mentioned, I just talk to myself a lot. I record myself. Other than the times that I create content, when I want to practice a language, I record myself speaking that language. I look back to myself. I reflect on my issues, what I need to fix. And the more that you talk to yourself, the more that you repeat certain things, the next time you have to use it when speaking to a native speaker, it will definitely come out more naturally. Also, I mentioned apps like Hello Talk, where you can just talk to random people. You can do those things. They really helped me. Talking to myself, talking to strangers that I will never see again. Or ideally, you can get a non-judgmental language learning partner. I don't know, comment down below the languages that you're speaking and your target language, and maybe you can find someone that would like to practice with you. That would be much more ideal, but I never had someone like that. So I just talked to myself a lot and thought to myself in my target language a lot, and I feel like it still helped a lot. Also, you have nothing to be ashamed of. Remember who you are. You're a bad bitch that's learning languages. That's hot. Remember that. Ugh. My camera's dying, and I will too if I don't eat soon. This is it for this video. I might make a part 2 because I had more questions. If you have more problems that you would like us to discuss here, just leave a comment down below. If you don't, still leave a comment down below because I need it for the algorithm. Because this is how YouTube works. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope this helped, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!